Okay, evening all. Just checking that we are live and I can see you all and we can get started. Right, okay, so, oh, my camera's just moved. That's never good, is it? Right, okay, guys, so welcome to Tuesday night's Facebook Live. Oh, my phone's just turned off. We are going to be looking at the watercolour pencils tonight. I like to feature a product every now and again, and this product is lovely. They're all lovely, but I do like this one. So very warm welcome to everyone as you join. Very different. I'm not normally live on a Tuesday evening. It's half term here, so life is a bit different, and I'm spending lots of time with the children. So I'm joining you on a Tuesday rather than on a Monday. And yes, tonight we're going to be looking at the watercolour pencils. We will make a start. I'll show a few things for you. I am running a little promotion with the watercolour pencils at the moment. I'll talk a bit more about that later. But there is an opportunity to get a free pack of basic white card or a pack of the water painter brushes when you purchase the 2 sets through me until Monday. I think I've put that on. So we will make a little start. I have a couple of samples to show you and then we will get cracking. So let's just flip my camera around and you will be able to see my desk. Evening to you, Margaret. Thanks for joining us tonight. Right, okay, so just get my camera in position. So the watercolour pencils, I've taken mine out of the packaging and they now keep them in a little glass jar and they look like this. We've got 2 sets. Oh, there's a bone folder in there. There are 2 different sets that you can purchase and you'll find them on page 126 of your annual catalogue that looks like this for the next few days. And they come in 2 packs. So assortment number 1, there are 13 pencils in assortment number 1 and they cost £15 and they include basic black, basic grey, Bermuda Bay, Calypso Coral, Daffodil Delight, Early Espresso, Melon Mambo, Old Olive, Pacific Point, Pumpkin Pie, Real Red, Rich Raspberry and White. So that is your basic set of watercolour pencils. Then you can add in assortment number 2 and the different tones of those colours there. So if you want to extend the type of colouring that you do and you want to have more colours in your pencil case, you can get 10 pencils for £11.75. So to combine the 2, it's £26.75. They last really, really well. I've had mine for a number of years. You can definitely tell the ones that I use the most. Sort of the greens and the yellows are the ones that I have used the most, and I just keep mine in a nice little jam jar on my shelf in my office. So I will show you a few little examples. So these are not only great for watercolouring, but they're also great for using as normal pencils. So this card here is a card that I put together for this week's coffee and card session, which happens twice a month on a Monday morning. And I have used the pencils here just straight onto basic white card with no water, and you get a really subtle finished look. I find with the pencils you get a little bit more control than with the Stampin blends between the different shades of your colours, depending on how firm you press. And you can really build up that colour to the desired sort of look that you're going for. So that stamp that I've coloured there comes from the In the Moment stamp set just here. So this is a cling stamp set that you will find in the Spring Summer catalogue. That runs until the end of June, and it's a line drawn image. So I'll show you a few other images that I have coloured as well, again with the watercolour pencils. So this image here is this lovely young girl here reading her book with her dog. It's a shame it's not a dachshund, but we won't hold that against Stampin' Up. And I've used just a variety of different colours there. So we've got a nice Daffodil Delight for the book. I've gone for sort of Calypso Coral for the covers, and then she's got this really nice Coastal Cabana blanket there. And I like the way actually you can get real vivid colours with these pencils. So that's that one. This one here is the next one, is the young lady looking out the window. And I've gone for more sort of bright, what I would call like primary colours. I know green isn't a primary colour, but if there was to be a fourth, green would definitely be it. So I've used this Granny Apple Green here, and I've matted that onto a card base. There's no sentiments on these cards yet because I haven't decided what I'm doing with them. And then I've done another one of the lady looking out across the balcony, and I've created a bit more of a scene in the background there. Again, just with those watercolour pencils, just sort of quite quick colouring, long strokes, and I've created a bit of a beach. So on the card you've just got she's looking out over the water, whereas this one she's actually looking out across the beach and she's drinking something very, very nice as well. So let's get cracking and I will show you how lovely these watercolour pencils are. So I'm going to start by just using them as pencils for the first sample, and then for the second one I'm going to use a bit of water. Now when you're using the water, and I'll go into this in a bit more detail later, when you're using the water I would recommend you not using Basic White. Basic White is a very smooth piece of card and it's not very porous, so you can use it with a blender pen. I'm not massively confident with the blender pens. I'm very much better with a water painter and a little bit of water to get a bit of a wash sort of look. But let's try them out just with pencils to kick us off. Okay, now I'm going to use this stamp. Now I haven't used this stamp to demonstrate with at all yet, and I love it. I really, really love it. It's called Every Chapter. It's a large background sort of stamp, and it's cling base, which means it's on this nice red rubber, and it's really, really lovely. So I'm going to stamp with Memento. If you're using water, I would recommend you stamp with a StazOn ink pad, but as we're not using water, we're fine to use the Memento stamp pad. Okay, I'm going to ink up my stamp really well, and then I am going to just pop that down. Now I plan to actually fussy cut this out afterwards, so I'm just making sure that's pressed down. Now the great thing about Stampin' Up blocks, this block is really big as you can see. The great thing about the Stampin' Up blocks is they're very heavy, so actually you don't need to do a lot of wiggling. As long as you push down firmly, gravity will do the most of the work for you. So I've just left that there, and now we're going to pick that up and we've got a really nice stamped image there. I'm going to bring in my colouring pencils, and tonight girls, this is going to be quite a chilled session. It's not going to be too full on. It's a nice chilled Tuesday night crafting. Now my technique, and again you may have your own style and that's wonderful, but my preferred technique with these pens is I give everything a really nice light coverage first, and then I will go in and start pushing more firmly. I'm just going to grab myself some grid paper actually, because this paper underneath my card has actually got a bit of texture to it. So we've got a nice layer there. So going quite hard to add in the dark sort of colour, and just go over it until you're happy with what you've got. Another trick with these watercolour pencils is to make sure they are sharpened. Okay, you get a better finish when your pencils are sharp than if your pencils were really blunt. It also makes you work a lot harder when they're blunt. Okay, so we're going to do that first bit like that. I think that my teacup is going to be pink as well. So again, I'm just going over with a really light wash of colour. Just colouring in that teacup. Not forgetting the handle. So we've got our base of colour, and now I'm going to go over, pushing a little bit more firmly to pick up a bit of shadow. Okay. Just think about where the light would kind of hit and where you would have shade. And just remember, you can add more, but you can't take it away. So that's why I like to build up my colour in sort of layers as we go. Okay, I'm also going to do my little flower here in pink. And I want that to be quite vibrant. So I'm pushing quite firmly on that. Okay, I'm going to go in next with a little bit of yellow. So I've got Daffodil Delight here. Do like a bit of Daffodil Delight. So again, I'm going to do the next one yellow with just a little wash of colour. And this is the sort of colouring you can do in front of the TV, in the garden, on a journey. You could easily do this, sort of stamp some images, take them on a train journey or away on holiday with you. You don't need a lot of kit. So, I'm going to go in with a bit of green next. I'm going to use some Granny Apple Green for the leaves on this book here, and the leaves on here like so, and then up here on our teacup. Now me personally, I like to do things sort of in pairs or threes. So here I've got the top and the bottom in one colour, and then a bit of the same colour in the middle. The green, I'm just going in with a bit of splash, but I think I'm going to colour this top book here in green as well. People speak to me a lot about colour and how you choose them, and to be honest, there's no right or wrong. The great thing about Stampin' Up! Colours is they all coordinate, so they're all designed to mix and match. So these colours will match the inks, they'll match the card. And actually so far I've used all bright. So I've got Flirty Flamingo for the pink, which is in the bright, Granny Apple Green is in the bright, and Daffodil Delight is in the bright. So you can't go wrong if you stick in the same colour family either. There we have it. And then the next one, let's go in with a bit of blue. So let's use some Coastal Cabana. Now, not to confuse you, but when you look at the two ends of the Bermuda Bay and Coastal Cabana, Bermuda Bay is actually darker than Coastal Cabana, but when you look at the end of the pen is actually the same as Bermuda Bay, so just be careful with that. Okay, so I'm going to take the Coastal Cabana one, and I am going to add in down on this pink book. And actually my children will tell you, I tend to colour like this when I colour with them as well. I will start off lightly and then I'll go around all the edges for some reason. It's just my little style. So we've got that there. And these glasses are going to be blue. How cool would it be to have glasses that are this colour? I'm not sure I could pull it off, but wouldn't it be nice? So it's definitely a therapeutic session, bit of colouring. Coffee and card was lovely yesterday. The ladies all got a sheet of white and they could stamp and colour to their heart's content, and then they had their card kits as well, so it worked really nicely. Right, I'm also going to have the edge of this book in Coastal Cabana as well. I'd like some more neutral colours, so Stampin' Up, if you're listening, because of course you would be listening to my live, I'm joking. If you're listening, can we have some more neutral colours, please? I'd like a crumb cake, please. There we go. I think this is coming out really, really nicely. Now, purple, we're going to add in a bit of purple. What have I got left? I've got the bookmark here. The purple is Gorgeous Grape. So again, it is another Brights colour. And then here, I'm going to do this chapter in the purple as well. It's quite a dark purple, so I'm going to be quite subtle with it. I'm just pushing really lightly, hardly putting any pressure on at all, to just colour that in. And then bring in a bit of shading here, just around this. They are vibrant, aren't they? I wasn't sure if you'd be able to see it on the video, but actually it's working really nicely. It's one of those things you definitely need to practice with. It took me a while to get used to them, but once you're used to them, just keep going, and they do look lovely. So I'm going to use crushed curry now for the edges. Crushed curry is quite a nice sort of browny yellow, and I'm going to go really lightly just on the edge of my pages, okay, because it's the closest thing that I've got to kind of a crumb cake. So, oh, I haven't done those edges there. So what colour should we do that? We've got purple and purple, yellow and green. I think I'm going to do that yellow because actually there's not a lot of yellow. Oh, the yellow at the centre of the flower needs to be yellow. And let's just do that little strip there. And I'm going to leave every white, I think, because then it will bring in the edge, because I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to leave a little border of white around it. So it will bring in the white in the border into that little section there. So now I need to cut that. Oh, thank you, Sue. That's very kind of you. Sue likes my choice of colours. I'm going to trim around this. So you could easily stamp up a whole sheet of these, or any of the images in any of the stamps that you can colour. Stamp them all up and then go and pop and sit on the sofa. Nice tray, nice cup of tea, nice TV programme, and that's a lovely relaxing evening. Or even in a colouring book, you can by all means use these in a colouring book, on a canvas. They really are versatile, and I think they're one of the little hidden gems that are in the catalogue. They're quite easily passed over, and in terms of a bit of a, you know, starter item, they're absolutely perfect. We've all coloured in our life, we've all coloured with friends and children, and as children we coloured, so actually we've all got colouring skills, and they're a great starter kit product. Or if perhaps you're thinking of getting the blends, don't know where to start, they're a very heavy investment, the Stampin' blends. These $26.75, you've got all the colours you need, away you go. So I would definitely have these as one of my top products. I don't use them very often, I must admit. I do go to my Stampin' blends more than anything else, and I'm not sure why, when you get such lovely results as this. So I'm going to turn this into a really simple card. Just following the edge round, leaving a little border of white. I'm really impressed with how these colours have come out, actually. Another great thing about these pens as well is if you're using a white card base and you're colouring onto them, colouring onto that card base, with the Stampin' blends you get a level of bleed through the back of the paper, so you'd have to add an extra layer, but with this there's no bleed there at all. You wouldn't know what's on there. My cardstock's got a bit of a mark on it, but there's no bleed at all. So there we have our little coloured in image. And now let's turn this into a card, shall we? I'm just going to grab a card base. I have a little stash of card bases already cut, which are here, and I'm going to go with a white card base, I think. And I'm going to add a little layer of embossing, possibly. Shall we lay some embossing in there? What have I got here? Some little stash of scraps that sits on my desk. Okay. Let's cut this down. So I'm going to just trim this down ever so slightly. I'm going to take it down to 14.4 centimetres. And then turn that round and line it up at 10 centimetres. Okay. Now let's choose an embossing folder. Embossing folder, which one should we go for? Let's go for this lovely painted texture. It's got a really nice, deep embossed look to it. So let's just run that through our machine. How are we doing? Are we all still there? Has anyone fallen asleep yet? Have I sent anyone to sleep? Okay, so let's bring this in. So you can see you've got a really deep emboss there. And this is a really lovely generic embossing folder. It goes with so many different things. And by embossing that background, I think it just adds something really special to that background. And it just lifts our stamping a little bit. What do we think? So let's stamp this on. It's also one of those embossing folders. It doesn't matter which side you use. I love embossing folders like that. It's almost like you get two things for the price of one. I do like to get more for my pennies. Okay, so let's stick that onto our card base. Now this, the trick with this, I think, is to raise it. So let's pop that onto some foam pads. Now I had a little bit of a meltdown earlier because I'm down to my last pack of Stampin' Dimensionals and their mini ones. Now mini ones are great, but I do like the regular sized ones. Oops, the backing doesn't want to come off of this. It's coming now. Now I'll show you something else with this stamp set next. I went, as a bit of a comparison, I went to my Uplines team day at the end of February, and she made a really special project for us with this stamp set. So just to give you a bit of a different look with this stamp set, this what I'm going to show you was coloured with Stampin blends. So that's the blends, it's just a little frame, and it's coloured with Stampin blends. And I actually think, now you all know I'm a massive fan of Stampin blends, but actually colouring in with the pencils, I think I really like it, because you almost get a bit of texture in your colouring. You've got your lines, it's very traditional looking. Sorry, just having a mouthful of tea. It's very traditional looking, and it's just different. So that is my first card. What I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to add a little bit of ribbon, a little bit of twine to it. Ah, so pretty. My sister would love that. Are you talking about the card or the frame? The frame is lovely, isn't it? And I do like a frame, as you all know. So I'm going to take some white thread, and I just feel like it needs a little bit of texture. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to wrap it round a little bit, cut it off. Both, but the frame is fabulous. It is lovely, isn't it? I wish I could take the credit, but I can't. I mean, I coloured it, but Michelle Last was the amazing designer of that. She's a very talented lady. I'm very lucky to have her as my upline. So I'm just going to tie this with a little bow. And this is basic white baker's twine. You get there, it comes in an essentials pack where you get black, a brown, a white, and it's really handy. So I'm just going to cut off these little threads, and then I'm just going to take my little pot of embellishments, which is in another pot underneath my desk. I do love a pot, especially a see-through clear pot. Has anyone been watching the Home Edit? I'm a little bit obsessed with it. Now I thought I had some brushed brass butterflies. I do. Here we go. There's a couple of these left in here. And I'm just going to add a little butterfly to the centre of my ribbon, my bow, and I'm going to add another one just down here, and there we have my finished card. What do we think? Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Alright, so I'm going to go in with a different technique now, and still using the watercolour pencil. I'm just going to turn my heater off because I'm getting a bit warm in here. And let's get some water paper. Now, Stampin' Up offer two different types of paper for watercolouring. Oh, thank you, Sandra. Fabulous cards. It's not too bad, is it? Okay. So, Stampin' Up offer two types of water paper. This one here is advertised as watercolour paper. It's the Fluid 100 watercolour paper, and they're A5 sheets, so it's half a sheet of A4. And it's got a real texture to it. So, it's really thick. It's probably, I think it's thicker than, it's not as thick as the thick basic white, but it is quite thick. And it's got a texture to it so you will get texture showing on your images when you colour them. And then you have Shimmer White. So Shimmer White, it's not advertised as watercolour paper, but it is a really good medium for using with water onto. It's quite porous, but it's also got this really subtle shimmer, so it adds a lovely little texture, another little shine to your colouring. So it's really, really pretty. It's quite pricey. I think it's going up to £9.50 for a pack of 10 sheets in the new catalogue, but it is an investment. I wouldn't use it for matting and layering, I wouldn't use it for card bases, I would use it just purely for my stamping images and then watercolouring onto. So it will go a long way if you're careful with it. Okay, so I'm going to trim this down, and I'm going to trim this, I want it to be, let's go 13.9. How big is this? Yeah, let's go 13.9 centimetres by 9.5 centimetres. Now if I show you the comparison to white card as well, it isn't white and it isn't vanilla, it is an in-between colour. So I don't know how quick this will pick it up, how easy it'll pick this up in the video, but this is my basic white, this is my shimmery white, so it's a cream colour, and you will notice a difference. Okay, so I am now going to stamp this stamp set. I've used this a lot recently. I'm not going to use that actually, I'm going to use this hand penned petals. Love a bit of hand penned petals. It was new in the annual catalogue last year and it is carrying over, so if you haven't got it, you've got it for another year if you wanted to purchase it. So it's a photopolymer stamp set, which means it's see-through, and I'm going to add that to my acrylic block, and I'm going to stamp that straight onto my watercolour card, my Shimmer White card. Now when you're using a photopolymer stamp, I would always recommend using a stamping mat underneath. When you've got the red foam, you've got a bit of give, so when you push down it goes somewhere, whereas with the photopolymer it's really rigid, so there's no give when you push down on it. So using the stamp mat just gives you that little bit extra and gives a better stamped image. As I mentioned originally, we're using water now, so I'm going to use a Stays On ink pad as opposed to a Memento ink pad. I'm just going to stamp that all over. Now the one thing I haven't looked at in here is, do I actually have any water? This is going to be fun, isn't it? So it's got a really nice amount of ink on it, and I'm going to put one there. Lovely, really crisp image. Actually no, I'm just going to do one. I'm not going to do two. When you're using Stays On, another little reminder, always clean your stamp afterwards. Use Stays On cleaner and it will take the ink out of your stamp. Now let's have a look, do I have any water in here? Yeah, I do. Lovely. So these are the water painters. They come in a pack of 3 like this. Now you can fill the barrel with water, but actually my preferred way to use them is with a paint pot of water. I'm just going to take this out of the barrel. Okay, so that's out. So you have a thick brush like that, you have a medium size, and you have a fine. For something like this, I will use the medium and the fine. I'm not going to use the large brush. Okay, and I want to have a piece of grid paper here. So I've got my equipment now. Now we're going to choose our colour. So you've got 2 options. You can take your watercolour, sorry, you can take your pencil and colour it in, and then add your water, or you can make your paintbrush wet with the water and then take the ink from the nib of the pencil, okay, and then just add it like so. And in a similar way with your, as we did with the painting, so as we did with the colouring, I tend to start with a nice layer of colour to start and build it up, okay. The more water you add, the more your colour will travel on the paper and the more diluted the colour will get, okay. So I'm using crushed curry for this. I'm going to go with quite a different look, I think. And my other little tip for this is to let it dry. Add one layer, let it dry, and then add another layer, okay. So I'm going to go back. And this is quite a bright sort of look. I'm not going for subtle, I'm going for bright again, okay, taking a little bit more water. And again, it's one of those things to be patient with it, take your time, don't rush it, and just enjoy it, enjoy the process of bringing it all together, okay. Now, one thing you can do is, if you are impatient, and that's fine, we're all impatient with different things, use your heat tool to dry it between layers. Okay, so I'm going to go with those 3 flowers like so to start with. Just going to grab a white because my paintbrush is now all wet, my pencil is now all wet. And then I'm going to go for, do we go for pumpkin pie? Do I want pumpkin pie? No, I don't. I'm going to go for Daffodil Delight. I'm going to go for just different yellows. Okay, so again, I'm taking my I'm going to just colour these really lightly. So I've got hardly any colour on my, oh, I managed to get some water on my car, but that's okay, it's all part of it. We can add a gem there. Okay, so I'm going for nice light yellow flowers there. And then we want our leaves. So leaves, I'm going to go with an old olive. Now with the leaves, I'll show you the difference between colouring straight onto that and then adding your water, or doing it as I've just done it. So I'm going to colour really lightly, and I'm not going towards the edges, okay? I'm just colouring in the centre of those leaves, because remember, the water will travel and it will take the ink, or it will take the colour with it. Okay, make sure your water's nice and clear, and it is. And then now add your water over the top, and it just spreads it really, really gently. Okay. So have a good practice with them. Oh, that's a lot of water there. Have a little practice with them. Find a technique that you like. Find something that you find easy to use. And yeah, just practice. So now I'm going to go back with my crushed curry, which is here. And I want to add a little bit more ink, a little bit more colour to those flowers here. Okay, and this is where you get sort of texture in your image. So you know how you get the distinctive stamp sets where the texture is built into the stamp already, this is how you can get that sort of look with watercolour. Okay. So my leaves are really, really light, and if I want to darken them up, I would use this sort of technique, because you get more ink, or you get more colour on your brush this way. Okay, so if I lift that up now and show you, can you see the sort of look that we're going for? Now, I'm going to go back to my paintbrush, and I'm going to take my green ink, my green colour from that nib. And I'm going to add that to my leaves. So you get a real concentration of colour. The other thing you can do is you can colour onto an acrylic block, like a Stampin block, and you can take the colour from there. There's so many different options with these. There's so much I want to show you as well. And I love to watch how the ink sort of travels as well. Okay, so pop that to one side. And there we have our image. What do we think? Is this something we're liking? Is this something we're not liking? Now, for the centre of our flowers, I am going to use... let's use a Calypso coral for the centres. And I'm going to do the same. So that is my watercoloured finished look. Okay, now I'm just going to put all of this to one side before I knock it over. It's a very, very different look that we've got there compared to how vibrant our first sample was. Okay, so let's put this to one side and let's have a little card, shall we? So let's grab some crushed curry card. Do I have a crushed curry card base? I'm not sure that I do. Let's have a look. No, I do. So we've got a nice crushed curry card base here. We're going to pop that onto our card like so. We're going to ignore that little speck there. It's not quite dry, so I'm going to add this just to the front of my card, like so. I'm going really careful to not smudge anything. And then I'm going to have some, so that's Old Olive card, but it looks quite mossy meadowy. So Mossy Meadow, that looks really nice, I think. Let's go with some Mossy Meadow and do some heat embossing. And let's heat emboss for a change in gold. Oh, I'm loving this. Loving it. Have moments where the creative spirit does work. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. And other times it does. So let's do a little bit of stamping, and I'm going to use a sentiment from this stamp set. I love this stamp set. It's the Blessings of Home stamp set, and I want this one, Have a Perfect Birthday. Absolutely love this sentiment. And I'm going to start by trimming this down so it's a centimetre wide. Evening to you, Lisa. Nice of you to catch me live. Yeah, very nice indeed. I hope you're okay. My desk looks like a bomb site tonight, but it's okay because we're having a lovely time, aren't we? Right, so I've just gone over that with my embossing buddy. I'm going to add my Versamark. This needs a bit of rejuicing. And I'm going to stamp that in the centre. It's not in the centre at all. Much better. Where's the embossing powder? Here's the embossing powder. Gold and green and mustard look really, really lovely together. Give this a little heat. So on our first card we went with brights, and on the second card we've gone with more of a neutral, sort of regal look. So it's just changing now. There we go. Just seeing if that catches it. What do you think of that? How pretty is that? So let's just trim this off. We've got a nice little have a perfect birthday. We can put that up there. I actually quite like that up there, and that will cover up our little dot, won't it? Yeah, let's put that up there, shall we? Stick it down with some dimensionals, and then I've got another little technique that I'm going to use. Just like that, it's gone. Okay, like so, and then we've got a couple of little dimensionals. Not dimensionals, some gems to put on because I do love a gem, and I'm going to go with gold as well. I could always use the butterflies, or what else have I got in my box of tricks? The ones I love using are sadly retiring, and they are the gilded gems. These will work. These are the brushed metallic adhesive backed dots. Let's use those in gold. So we've got another little blemish down here, so we can cover that up. Just going to add a few of these sort of at random. And then to finish it off all together, because what I don't like about this card is that harsh white edge. So I'm going to take a black fine liner, and I'm going to add just a little black line around the edge just to frame what we've created. So if you don't want to do sort of matting and layering, this is another really great technique. So there we have it. Have a perfect birthday, and that is the hand pen. You can see that the water is still moving on that green. No one will ever know, Sandra. Exactly. No one will ever know that I made a bit of a mess. except you lovely guys. So just to recap, we have made 2 very different looking cards with the watercolour pencils here. This one here has been coloured just with the pencils, no water, just straight pencil to card, loving a bit of regular colouring, okay, colouring that we all grew up with, that we all love, just pencil to card, okay, really vibrant colours on that one, whereas this one we have used water. So we have taken the water straight from the nib with the brush onto the card to colour our image, and you get a real lovely wishy-washy sort of look. My water is still moving there. I'm going to leave that to dry once I'm finished with you guys, but you can see you get a real subtle wishy-washy sort of look when you watercolour. I really like that card. I've used a little bit of gold embossing there, which I very rarely use, but I think it just adds something quite special to our cards. So guys, that is it tonight. We've been going for nearly 55 minutes. Wow. I very much appreciate you spending some of your Tuesday evening with me. I do always enjoy coming on here and being creative. I think we've definitely been creative tonight. We've really pushed those watercolour pencils, haven't we? We've really used them. Just to go back over some of my earlier samples, this is just pencil on card, no water, just regular colouring. And this is with the In the Moment stamp set. So the watercolour pencils, you will find them in the annual catalogue. I forget which page they're on, but you'll find them with the Stampin' White markers and the pastels. They come in 2 packs. You've got the main pack, which is 15 pencils and is £15, and the next set is £10, and there are £11.75, and there are 10 pencils in there. Great little addition to your craft stash. A great starter colouring tool, and just really quite nice to sit and do. So at the moment, if you purchase those 2 items through myself, until Monday, I'm doing a little bit of a promotion as it's this week's feature product. If you purchase them through myself, I will throw in a pack of basic white card or the pack of water painters for free. You either need to order with the host code, which is on my website, or you can message me directly to order. That's it for me now. I am off for a few days. I'm going to enjoy the bank holiday with my family. We're going on a little mini break to London, just me and my children and my husband. So I'm going to have a nice bit of quality time with my family, and then I will be back next week, roaring to go, and to show you some lovely sneak peeks of the new annual catalogue that launches on the 3rd of May. So that's it for me, guys. Have a lovely, lovely Easter. I hope it's peaceful. I hope it's enjoyable. I hope the sun shines. I hope it's full of chocolate. And yeah, have a great time. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. All the best. Bye for now.